Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this world. My name's Jade, and this is The Interview. And today we have a very special guest, Studio 6+1, aka Dave French, the creator of the app MooMu and musician. We're going to go out and check out one of his tracks right now. You ready to Oge? Let's Oge, baby. Yeah. Hey, welcome to the show. My name is Jade. Do I have the right setup here? Oh, yeah, there it is. My name is Jade, and this is The Interview, and I hope you're doing okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That was our guest today, Studio 6+1, also known as Dave French. Are you excited? You're doing well out there. You know the deal. We'll call your names out as we get in. So, this dude came into this scene while Brad was here. We discussed this before. So while Brad was here on holidays, and I dealt with Brad Example for 3 weeks, that's when he came into the channel here. He's an app developer. He's a musician. He creates, is the creator of MooMu, which I've done a tutorial here on the channel, and we're going to get to know him today. I'm very excited to have him on the show. Let's bring him on. Let's make sure all my buttons are all working and everything here. Get some applause going. So without further ado, let's bring on Studio 6+1. Dave, what's going on? Boom.
Hiya.
Hey. Welcome to the show. You doing all right?
Yeah, good, thanks. Self?
I'm doing good. It's early in the morning. I've got my coffee. I'm primed, ready to rock. Got my unt mug because we're all unts. It's the worst merchandise ever. All right, so tell us about that track that we played there to kick off the show, my friend.
Yes, I've got to be honest, I was quite surprised just now. That's not actually one of my tracks.
Oh, what? Was it the wrong one? What the fuck? Jesus. Oh, it played the wrong one. Hang on, we're going to have to do this. This is it, isn't it?
That's one of mine.
Oh, fucking hell, we're doing it again. Let's go. Let's go. That is the worst beginning I've ever had. Let's do it.
Everybody. Seems hate. Everybody.
Well done, Jade, you dickhead. You know what it is? So just to let you know, guys, so Dave sent me this song to play, and there's no clip for it. So me thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna be cool. I'll load up this app Rhythm and I'll load in the song, and I'm like, there it is. Here's the app here. And when I turned it on, it just picked a different song randomly. It's fucking ridiculous. There we go. Tell us about that song, Dave.
Right, feels like deja vu. This is actually probably my most recent bit. I'm not going to call us a band. There's a sort of group of between 6 and 8 of us who turn up and jam every week on a collection of synths. Absolutely no planning, no coordination. No one says what scale we're going to play and what the vocals are going to be, what anything's going to be. You just walk in the room, sit in front of whatever synth you fancy, and play away for about 2 or 3 hours. So that was a short little extract of about 3 weeks ago.
I love that concept. I love that whole concept. I've been in bands that are kind of like that too, where you just roll up and you make noise and whatever happens, happens. And hopefully someone records it and there's a good moment. Have you been doing this for a long time?
This group has been going for 27 years, I believe it is.
Right.
I didn't meet them until 2018. No, sorry, 2009. Sorry, I met them. So yeah, I've been playing with them a fair few years on and off. There's been a few breaks and things as life goes on, as generally happens. But yeah, so a good few years we've been playing together doing that.
And does this project have a name?
The Squiffers.
The Squiffers. What the
Squiffers.
What is it? How does one get squiffed?
I don't know how one gets squiffed or how the name came about. Right. But yeah, it's a bunch of people. They would sort of semi-hippie-ish, would have been involved in a lot of the free party scene and the Glastonbury type, like the pre-Glastonbury events and things from back in the day. Yeah, and they all still meet up. There's quite the youngest member is 18, is like one of our friend's sons, and the eldest member, I believe, is 67.
Wow.
So yes, quite a large age range. Most of us are, well, I think there's only the youngest one's under 50. But yeah, there's still quite a large age range there.
So do you guys meet in a warehouse? What's the setup? And is it a BYO Instruments or are some provided? What's the G?
No, it's all pretty much provided. It's my mate's house. He's been lucky in the respect that the house next door to him has been vacant for a long time.
Right.
So there hasn't really been any noise restraints as such.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a domestic street, so we're not ramming out like a proper band. It's in someone's spare bedroom. It's a collection of stuff that's been built up over the years. Some lucky finds at boot sales, some cheap things that have turned up on eBay, some stuff that's been looked for. We've just recently got a Vermona drum machine. That's a lovely thing. I only got hold of that week and a half ago. That's really lovely. There's a couple of Korg MS-10s, one in an okay condition, one is totally nutty battered, most of the keys missing. There's a turntable around there, but no, it's all provided. People do turn up with stuff. Sometimes you get random guests turn up and they might turn up with a violin or a guitar or a drum they want to play or whatever their thing is. Yeah, so it can be quite an eclectic thing. And sometimes you can get sometimes it's like 12 people. And yeah, as you can imagine, 12 people all fighting for space. Yeah, but it's all fun.
Is there a theme? Do you do like a theme where you like get together and sometimes there's a theme and you just got to collaborate and just improvise? Is that what it is? So more improvisation?
It's all improvisation, but there's never a theme.
Right.
There is literally nothing said about what we're going to do tonight. It's what comes out. Obviously, you can be hit and miss doing that. But over the years, there's now more hit than miss. Whereas when it first started, there'd be like 3 minutes out of a whole evening's worth of stuff worth listening to. Whereas now it's sort of going around the other way. Most of it's pretty good, but there are still obviously sections where we're finding ourselves and things are going a bit, like that. But it's all good fun. Absolutely love it. One of the best things I've ever done musically.
Oh, look, you're not going to get any arguments from me. I've been involved in a whole bunch of these things. I think it's the best way to understand improvisation and understand other people that you're performing with more than being in a. I find when you're in a band with the same people, it's like fucking the same person over and over again. It's gross. That's not gross, but in those situations, you don't know what's coming, so you really have to understand improvisation and be able to pull back when needed and let there be space for other. I think it's fantastic for that kind of stuff. I would, if another project like that came my way, I would get involved in it straight away. That's very cool. I'm going to hit you with the first question we hit everybody with. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you in the chat. We'll do a call out very soon. Dave, what does music mean to you?
Escapism. Really, it's life goes on, but when I'm doing music, whether the music's going well or not, I'm always happy, and I always manage to escape from all whatever's going on in the real world and all my problems and whatever needs doing. And I mean, that obviously all comes back as soon as you finish, but it really is about escapism and creativity. For me, I'm not particularly musically talented. I'm more of a sound, making soundscapes and weird sounds and understanding all that sort of works. That's the thing that gets me. Yeah, but that's really what music is to me, how to escape.
It's funny I hear that, because we are now in this world where a lot of music apps, everything's been done, right? So we have so many music apps coming out these days that are about sound creation and manipulation of sound instead of actual your typical music as what people think of music. And it's funny, you still hear people go, "Oh, I'm not really a musician." But then you look at it, and some of the highest paid people in the music industry at the moment are people who are making sclips and blops and bloops and soundscape noises for horror films, games, all this kind of stuff, which is so minimalistic. So, I mean, it's fucking music, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about, you mentioned about making music, but you also code. So what is it about coding that, what does coding mean to you? Because obviously you're coding to make something to make music, right?
It's my way. It's also my way of being creative.
Yep.
I know there's obviously lots of technical things and rules and maths, and it's not all creative. It's not going to try and say it is, but it's still creating a product. Whatever app it is you're making, that's your design, your input, and how you want it to work and how it does work, and all that sort. I find all that's like a creative release for me, and also like figuring out how to get things to work. So yeah, that's really my buzz out of the coding side of things. It's like, yeah, I don't know how to do that, and sort of within a while you figured it out, and yeah, that's the buzz for me there as well.
How does it feel to have a piece of software knowing it's in somebody's hands and they're making? What feeling do you get from that? If any.
Nerves, excitement, flattered. Yeah, I really get flattered when other people want to use my things. Yeah, it's nice to know that something you've created goes part way towards inspiring someone else to create something. Which is really what a lot of apps do. It's not that any app is particularly amazing for anything. They'll just inspire you in different ways and bring out different things. So yeah, I do like the idea that maybe I've inspired someone to make something somewhere somehow.
I find it interesting that this is not the exact same parallel, but it's kind of parallel. But I sit here and do a show every day about making music, and because I do this, I don't have any time to make music. Is it the same thing with like making a synth or something that, I'm putting all this effort into making this synth for somebody else to use, and I'm not making anything as well?
It can be. Not all, I'll be honest, 90% of me using a synth is me testing the synth for something. It's either something I've written or I'm using someone else's software to see how theirs works and things. So I suppose actually making music just for the sake of music's sake is probably when I go around my mate's house and we do that jam every week.
Yep.
If I'm at home, certainly if I'm doing something on MooMu, my app, it's like, yeah, that probably is either testing or I'm making a video or I'm working out how to do something. I do occasionally do something creative on it, but no, a lot of it's also got a point these days for me to be doing it because I'm spending so many hours on it.
Yeah.
When I sort of finish and sort of have a bit of downtime, I don't necessarily want to pick it up again from the downtime.
That's what I was going to say. Are there moments where you just look at it and go, oh, fuck this MooMu thing. I can't look at it anymore.
Yeah. I'll be honest, yes, there has been times when I've been like that. It's like, yeah, no, go and do something else for a bit.
All right. Do you remember the music that was played in your household as a kid? As a little Dave French growing up before you hit 7 and got rejected? We'll get into that. The music that was in your household by your family.
Leo Sayer.
Wow, I love some Leo Sayer, mate.
I remember Leo Sayer being a lot.
Yeah.
My dad was a big Tina Turner fan.
Yeah.
My mum hated Tina Turner.
Right.
There might have been a bit of the Beatles. Paul McCartney, Lennon John. Who else would have? Yeah, it had been mainly. We wasn't a musical family.
Right.
There's no one in my family that's particularly into music. My dad might go to like an Eric Clapton concert, but none of us are. Well, there was no music in my family really growing up.
Right. I'm in the same position as you. There was nobody in my family made any music, listened to music. My dad used to listen to horse racing all the time. And I tell you what, growing up in a house full of horse racing was fucking horrible. And they're racing, they're going around. So like, really, dude? Fuck. You're about as creative as a gnat. What about the first album you purchased with your own money and or was one that was given to you as a gift? Do you remember those or the closest to?
I remember both of those.
Nice.
The first album I'd have bought myself would have been Public Enemy, Nation of Millions.
Oh, wow.
Thinking I'm buying like the most underground music you could possibly buy from a record shop in the local high street when I'm like 10 years old or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the first record I was given, do you remember the Birdie song by the Tweets?
Oh.
I was given that on 7-inch single by one of my aunts.
Wow.
Yes, that'll be the first two things that I was either given or bought.
Nice. What a classic song. Do you listen to it now?
No.
Not at all. What about, because you're a developer, I've thrown in extra questions today. What about your first computer?
Amstrad's CPC 464, the one with the cassette tape on the end. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
Yes.
Trying to think what year that would have been now. 85, 86? I can't remember really. Somewhere about then.
Yeah, it's around there.
That was my first computer. It actually had a sound chip in it. Nothing amazing.
No.
But I think it must have been from a magazine or somewhere, but I managed to get it to play Axel F.
Right.
The big track that was going about at the time. But it wasn't really a music. Not by today's standards, it wasn't making music. But that was my first computer, and I got into programming and things on that. Back then, you used to get magazines. It was all magazines, obviously. There was no online.
Totally.
And I think, so I'd have been, 12, somewhere like 13. And they used to have like a help desk thing in this magazine where readers could send their names in and then other people could send questions in.
Yep.
And I was age 13 and I had all these people writing to me for advice on how to use this Amstrad computer. So I think when people started writing to me, they didn't realise I was a kid until they obviously got my reply. Now, normally I got the answer right, but you can imagine like it's also written by a little kid with little kids there to go round it and things. So I think quite a few people were quite shocked at that when they got my response, and then they wrote back to me afterwards. Yeah, so that has been my first sort of stepping into computers.
Kids they always have got things easier and faster. That's just the way it is. You know, their brains are more susceptible to intake, and you know, it's like that the same old story with everyone's got parents or grandparents who are still got a VCR with the light flashing on the front, and no matter how hard you tell them, this is how you set the clock, Dad, they go, oh, I don't understand it still. It's like, you do, you just don't want to, do you? You've just made a decision that you don't want to understand it, so that's how it's going to be. My first computer was a Commodore 64. I had a friend with an Amstrad with a cassette, and yeah, I used to always go around and put shit on him going, your graphics are nowhere near as cool as a Commodore 64, man. Is what it is.
Yeah, I remember that. My mate had a Commodore 64 at the same time as I had the Amstrad.
Because that SID chip is still, like now, regarded as a killer chip in the Commodore 64. It was some of the best sounds for the time. People are still using it now.
It's still emulated a lot.
Yeah. I wish it was emulated on iPad, really good, instead of a tracker. I hate trackers.
I've never understood trackers.
No, that's like the next level from modular synth for me. That's like, what is going on with the tracker? If you don't know what a tracker is, folks, so they use them now. It's like this weird MIDI kind of setup that it's bizarre. But it's the best we have. I think there's a few trackers with SID chips on iOS, but that's it. Do you remember the first computer game that you got on that Amstrad?
It came with a game called Spanners.
Spanners, all right.
Which was basically 4 levels with some pipes coming down into it, with water dripping out the pipes, and you had to run around, fix the leaks on the pipes, and run back up until you got caught because you got flooded because it had leaked too much. I think the first commercial game, remember Outrun?
Outrun,
the driving
of
game,
course.
the big driving game. Yeah, that would have been like the first big game I think I bought on it.
Oops, I've got the wrong. Is it this? No.
Yes, that looks like the one.
Spanner Man.
Is that a screenshot? Just be like, yes, that is the one.
Spanner Man, yeah.
Yeah, that's a screenshot on the icon below.
Man, I love old school video games. There was so, you know what? It's funny with look, I could talk video games forever. I love video games. People, today's video games look so much better. There's no denying it. We are in a utopia of video game graphics and sound and all that kind of stuff. But games are so much easier now. Because every game you get now, there's like the first level is like, it's not even part of the game. That's where they're showing you how to grab the gun or do the thing. And then once you get through that whole training, back in the old days on an Amstrad, you just got thrown in and you were fucked. And like these games weren't easy, like Monty games and stuff. Platforming games, you died so much. It was relentlessly hard.
Yeah, but that was good fun as well. And I think the big difference, you could play them for half an hour, put them down and walk away. Whereas I think now games are all about sit there for 6 or 8 hours at a time.
Yeah, they're definitely movie content now compared to just run and jump. Oh,
yes, they're a whole art thing now. Like they are. You do have actors. You have voice actors in there. You have the whole music thing in there. They are just a massive art project.
Yeah, absolutely. When you see what goes into a game, it's a lot of work and a lot of time and effort. One of my friends has a studio here in Melbourne, and good Lord, it's just, yeah, they did a game. They did a Starship Troopers back in the day. I think that's the game they got licensed to do from the film Starship Troopers.
Right.
And it was like the game was really good, but it didn't do very well because if somebody decides that your game's shit, it's not going to work. You would know this with developing apps, yeah? So if somebody automatically decides this is shit, then they're going to spread that around. And that's a hard thing to fight against with people deciding that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's go on. We'll get to app development and stuff soon. I'm going to play a track, and then we'll come back and say hello to everybody. Let's do that. I'm going to pick one randomly. I'm going to pick this one right here. This is called Stealth. So,
yeah, I remember this one.
Now, hopefully this works because I'm pulling up all the music today from SoundCloud, and you guys know how much I love SoundCloud. It's such a hard to use platform. Let's come over here and see if we can get this playing. This is Stealth. We'll be back here shortly. Oh shit, I left the echo thing on for you. I've got to remember. Let's play this. Let's do it. Let's Oge. Boom.
Hey Dodo, got any deals in your MBN so you can hook
This
them
is
all up?
why I
How's
hate.
this? $15 off for 12 months.
This is why I hate. Let's
Yep.
just mute that. I got an ad. Thank you, SoundCloud. SoundCloud's awesome for ads. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Play. Go. Hey, that was rocking.
Cheers, Jade.
That was awesome. Now, I'm just going to check. That was your song, wasn't it?
That was one of mine, yes.
Jeez. This is the worst start I've ever had to an interview, man. I'm so sorry about that. But hey, adds to the comedy, I guess. That was awesome. That was pumping. That was really cool. So that's a part of an EP, yeah?
Yeah, that was part of 4 tracks I made a few years ago now. That was on my own. I think I was sort of reminiscing about the older days. Obviously, I went all through the big rave scene and I met hundreds of people in that. I was promoting, I was DJing, I was really at the time of my life. And I think that was probably about 10 years after that had finished.
Right.
And I think I had sort of a bit of I don't know, an emotional period where I wanted to go back and do it again, but obviously I wasn't going to go back and do it again. And that's where them 4 tracks came from.
Awesome. Let's say hello to everybody, and then we'll keep going on with this. Thank you all for being here today. I'm just going to call some random names. If you want to help me out, you can type something and I can find your name. Shelley, congratulations. Shelley's got tied the knot, it seems, here. I've missed out on here. Hello, Shelley. Leela, Gary Hubbs, what's going on? We've got Hugh Caldwell in the house, Miss Stephanie, Laurie's Mishmosh. Who else do we have? Thomas Christ, of course. Moby Pixel has joined us. Seven Dust is in the house. I saw Russ earlier on at the start of the show. Jenny is here. Jenny Jolivet, Tremor Beg. What's going on? Who else do I see as I scroll through all this stuff? I got Miss Stephanie. I think I got most of you. Something says you. Boots and pants and boots and cats and boots and dogs and cats and pants. Hello to you all. Thank you for joining. And if you're watching on the replay, hello to you also. School. Was school a thing? Did you want to take up music when you were a youngster? And how did that go?
Yeah, I know why you're laughing. Basically, age 7, each of us got called in one by one into the room with the music teacher, where a piece of music was played on the piano and you had to sing along to it. My audition lasted about 3 minutes and that ended my music education.
So
that was it. All the cool kids got to go up the other end of the school and play all their violins and guitars and all the other stuff. I got to learn the names of the shapes and what the colours are called again.
Oh, so was that discouraging?
I think very much so. Looking back on it now, yes, it was like, no, you can't do. You're not capable of music.
Yeah.
Now you can probably hear from my voice. No, I'm never going to be a singer. I do struggle playing instruments. I can bash away around on a keyboard in bits and pieces, but I'm not a musician. But I think I was literally told, no, you can't do music. That's it. It's a sort of binary thing. You can't do it. You're not going to be good at it, so you can't ever enjoy it. So you're just not going to do it.
See, that's bullshit, isn't it? That's gatekeeping on a level that's ridiculous, because I've taught people who came in to learn singing who sounded like shit, and they fucking got better. Like, anybody can get better. I never understand this whole gatekeeping thing of, you can't do this. Only these people who have natural ability. It's like, what? Some of the best musicians in the world have no idea how to bar a chord.
Yeah, and you haven't got to be good to enjoy music. You haven't got to be the best guitar player in the world to be able to sit down and strum some chords along to one of your favourite records and enjoy yourself. Yeah. And yeah, I think holding people back from the opportunity of doing that to some degree. Yeah, I'm not saying the world should be full of people on stages that can't sing, because that's not the right way to go about it.
It's true.
Not at all. Orchestras have got to have an equal opportunities policy, and just because you can't play doesn't mean you can't be in the orchestra.
Yeah,
that doesn't work.
Yeah, participation award.
Yeah, but as far as actually being able to do some music on your own, just bang along to something, strum along, play some keys, whatever it is you want to do, you shouldn't be discouraged from that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it has an effect, especially young people. This kind of shit can stay with you for a really long time. Like, you ask any psychiatrist, he'll be like, there's a reason why there's a question when you go to a psychiatrist, tell me about your mother. There's a reason for that, because they're going back and these things get imprinted in your brain, and somebody tells you from a young age, no, you can't do this. It sticks with you, and you fucking harbor that shit and carry it around. And then this is where you get people who reach their 40s, have a midlife crisis and go, I want to make music, and end up making some of the best music of their life. And, you know, that creates regrets. I hate gatekeeping. I think it sucks. There we go. There's my statement. It sucks. So did you never had a chance to learn the recorder?
I think I blew into it once, and that was the end of that one. Yeah, which I'm quite grateful for, because the recorder is not a pleasant instrument, is it, really?
It's not. You don't see many people, you know, get up on stage. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, world acclaimed recorderist. Is that the word? I don't fucking know.
You don't? No. They're not in any band. They're not in any bands, are they? Not headlining any festivals this year.
No.
But I mean, I think if you was into music at my school, you would have got to play in the orchestra. You got to pick whatever instrument you want, and there was, I mean, there was quite a choice of instruments everyone was playing. So I think if you was music inclined, there was the education there for you.
Yeah, right. That's good. Oh.
It wasn't like the UK didn't do it. Oh, Russ is asking where in the UK. I'm from just outside London. But yeah, so we did. Obviously, there was definitely musical education there all the way through. And then we went into senior school. There was 3 music teachers. There was its own orchestra. There was a choir. You know, they've done all the school competitions, and they went around all the different places doing their stuff. So I think, yeah, there was definitely support for musicians, but there was a gatekeep to it.
Yeah, right. Let me bring this back here. Let's see. What else do I have here? So, now, were you a part of? I'm going to head to this section here, which I have marked as Teenage Rebellion. This is my bullet point that I have here.
Right, yeah, I've done some rebelling when I was a teenager. I do have a tendency to do that occasionally.
All right. What do you think, just off the top of your head, is probably one of the most rebellious things you've done as a teenager? Oh, God.
No, I'm not going to answer that question. Are you talking about the college?
I'm talking about, you know, hey, music.
Probably when we run a pirate radio station.
Yeah, tell us about
that. There was an electronic site in some magazine where for £15 or something you could buy all the bits to make your own FM radio transmitter.
Yep.
Quite illegal at the time.
Yes.
Especially if you don't know what you're doing with it. Now, obviously, I didn't really know what I was doing with it. So we was doing it for what? There was one evening when we blocked out all the TV sets for about 1.5 mile radius of where we were doing it from.
You weren't responsible for that Max Headroom thing that went down back in the day. Do you know that?
No, I don't know. I can't remember what one you're talking about, to be honest.
There was a thing back in the day where, I think it was in America anyway, where Max Headroom just took over everybody's television set and was saying all this really weird, fucked up shit. And no one's ever worked out where it was transmitted from. After all these years, it was just this huge thing that came on one night. But pirate radio was huge for a time there. And then I remember, like, it was really big underground thing. And then it kind of took off, and people like Howard Stern kind of moved in, and it became really popular, this pirate online radio. It manifested, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I've had a few stints with pirate radio over the years. Obviously, there was that go when I was a kid and didn't really know what we was doing. That was more of a fun thing. A few years later on, I was sort of DJing things on the local club scene. And there was a few pirate radio stations, and quite a big one turned up. It was all fun, but it was playing cat and mouse with the police, and you'd be moving studios around all the time, and the transmitter was getting moved from one tower block to another tower block, and also being tracked for that. while at the same time handing out flyers for gigs with the pirate radio station's name on it, right in front of everyone, publicly outside all the nightclubs and things. So it was all just a bit of fun and cat and mouse. There was a lot of names on there, big names in the club scene. So they'd be getting paid, like at the time, DJs were getting paid good money. So they might get paid £1,500 to do a set in a big club in London. And then 2 hours later, they'd be on top of a tower block somewhere doing a set for free for the local pirate radio station. There was a real sort of people sticking together that was in the scene type thing. So I met lots of people doing that, and I had great fun doing that. Good time doing that. But as things go on, the police got more and more involved. I think to start with, the group that was taking us down, they're called DTI, Department of Trade and Industry in the UK. But I think it was like their overtime money.
Right.
So they wasn't really making an effort to get rid of us. They made enough effort to book a bit of overtime. No one would come back next weekend, and then next weekend they'd get a bit more overtime. And then it got subcontracted out after a while, and people started getting arrested and all sorts of things, and that very quickly ended that station.
Wow. Amazing. Like the whole point of the thing was to get music to people, and it's outlawed. It's a thing that they're hunting you down. I mean, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you guys still have a television license in the UK, don't you?
We have a TV license. I do understand there's dangers as well. Back then, all the police cars, ambulances, fire brigades, that they was all using the same radio bands. So if your transmitter wasn't set up properly, you could cause them trouble. So like being older and more responsible now, you do sort of look back and you think, yeah, we could have caused some real problems there.
Yeah, we probably a few people didn't get to hospital on time. A few people had heart attacks and didn't live. But we got the busting tunes out, man.
Yeah, something like that. That, unfortunately, that is when you look back at life, you do see things you don't think, yeah, they were fun, but I wouldn't necessarily do them again now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's wild. G'day, Kent G-May has joined us in the chat, and see the lorry had to leave. I love this kind of stuff. Now, you're involved too, I'm guessing, in like the DJ scene and rave scene. Was that a part of your growing up around those 80s and early 90s?
I suppose it would have been mid-90s before I'd have got into the rave scene.
Right.
So I sort of missed the beginning of it, but there was still quite a large chunk of it there. And yes, it was a very large chunk of my life. At one point, I was out every weekend, and then where you was probably in a world where everyone owned guitars, I was in a world where everyone owned decks and turntables and things. I've just seen what Russ has put up there. Much like Centre Force 88.3, I was playing for the station that had bought their rigs off them for a while.
Hey.
Yeah. So I was getting involved in all the dance music scene. We all had turntables and things. And there was always this thing about one day we're going to get to DJ and play out in a club. One day we're going to get good enough to DJ and play out in a club. And then I realised it's nothing to do with how good you are. It's about promoting yourself and just getting on and doing it. So totally utterly unprepared, didn't know how to do this. I walked into a pub that I knew was sort of failing and booked their back room to put on a rave. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Good. Well, then when I saw some mates, I'm like, well, I've got a venue booked for here. Do you want to help out and do it? And we all got together. It was only a small venue, about 100 people. It certainly wasn't the biggest of things. I'm not going to kid on that it was. But it was the start of a regular month. That turned into the start of a regular monthly night that ran for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
We was playing. Well, it was mainly failing venues in my local town at the time. No one really wanted a rave scene going on in there, but you could make good money at it selling bottles of water and the entrance fee on the door. So it might be failing pubs. We've done a couple of restaurants. So they're all walking around in this restaurant trying to offer out sausage rolls and things in the middle of this rave because their license said they had to serve hot food. So they knew exactly what was going to happen. Yeah. Unfortunately, I really like the people that run this, but the restaurant wasn't working for them. But they had like a time left on their lease. They had to pay their money out, but didn't have any customers. They let us use it for that sort of thing. So that was really good. And then a few other people were doing that. Then we moved around a few other clubs, got to meet a few other people. And it's all sort of, once you start putting on your own night, that's when the other people start wanting you to play for them. And it's all really just a DJ swap and a promotion swap. You go and play for someone else's night, they come play for yours.
Yeah.
You sort of, the crowds all swap over because their followers come to your gig. And there was no money in the South End scene at all. It was like, we'll play for one another for free.
Yeah, right.
It was all just swapping over and things. To be honest, we had a door policy that if you made any attempt to get in for free, you got let in for free. If you said I couldn't afford it, it's like, yeah, fair enough, in you go. So we lost money, but there was 6 of us paying for it. So really, it cost us no more than a night out in the pub would have cost us anyway. Really.
It's interesting with money because you're doing it because you love it. Right, that's the thing, isn't it? You're doing it because it makes you feel good. It's a community, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, money was never my thing. In fact, I had the attitude I didn't want to earn money from it because I didn't want any stress from it.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't earning money, it wasn't like I've got to find a gig to pay next week, so I've got to pay my rent. It was, that's what I do for fun, and I earn my money elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to balance. I mean, a lot of people who get into music, I mean, when you're young, people have got the ideas of singing into a hairbrush and playing a fucking tennis racket, all this shit, and we all have ideas of being a big superstar, and then you kind of start making music and realize, I don't know, I just like making music. All the rest is a load of fucking guff, really. Like me and Russ have been talking the last couple of days about putting together electronic packs with your bio and everything. And I'm going to do a show on it this week about how to create an EPK. I think that's what it is, electronic. So, I can't remember what it is. But that is such a pain in the ass. Do you have trouble writing about yourself and creating something like that? What do you do when you write about yourself?
Make bullet points and hope someone puts it in ChatGPT.
That's what we did. So if you have a look in the description, folks, so Dave sent me all these bullet points of all his achievements, all the things he's done and what age they all happened. And I was like, man, how am I going to put that into a bio? ChatGPT just took all that information and made one of the most beautiful bios I've read. It was so nice. So good. Thank you, ChatGPT. You've earned your keep. Let's play another track. And hi, Adorable Anarchy, if I didn't say hi already. Let's play this track. So this one here is an ambient track, but I'm only going to play about 3 minutes of it, folks. So it's an hour-long track, so we're not going to play the whole track. We'll just play a little bit. This is called Cosmo, end of May 2022. Let's boot it. There it is. Let's hit play, and we'll see you back here shortly. Let's freaking Oge. Let's hope we don't get another commercial. Now, I love ambient. What got you into ambient music? I'm a big ambient music fan. I love making noise. I love making textures. I think textures are great, and they are the future of music for film, for video games. It just is what it is. Nobody's composing shit these days. Melodies are out in film production and video games. What is it about ambient music that gets you excited, Dave?
It's still got the abstract noises in it. I mean, that piece is actually very dark. That's probably from one of my darker times in life. But yeah, I've sort of got to the stage where I listened to kick drums for so many years in the rave scene. I don't really want to listen to them all the time anymore. But I was still looking for something different. I sort of like to imagine a scene or whatever's happening and try and create sounds that are in the scene, or like give the impression of what's in the scene and things. Yeah, depends. I mean, some of my stuff's actually a lot happier than that, and is quite good for relaxing to. That isn't good for relaxing to. Also, getting into modular also started a lot. Well, carried on with a lot of it. Modular's very easy, or sort of leans that way inclined to making the never-ending, evolving sort of soundscape, as opposed to writing pieces of music which are set out like verse, chorus. Yeah, so that's really why I got into ambient sort of music.
I love ambient music, and like Gary said here, your subs are at 95. We've got to get Dave to 100 today, so if you guys can do that, I will love you all. Very long time, youtube.com, hang on, at, here we go, Studio 6+1. Come on, YouTube, do your thing. We're at 95 subscribers. So, guys, if you can get him over 100 today, I will love you so much. It's interesting. So, have you always been into ambient music, or was it started out more like dance stuff and then it led into that? And I'll answer that, and then I'm going to rewind.
Yeah, I've always been more abstract. Even though sort of you say dance music, it was never the mainstream dance music that was played on the big clubs. It was always the little parties in the basement underneath somewhere or wherever it was. So yeah, when I got into ambient, I remember there was a radio station called Kiss FM when I was a kid.
Yes.
It was originally a pirate station that had then became a legal station, and you had two DJs on there, Colin Faver and Colin Dow. And during the day, they played like some dance music-y type stuff that I was getting into. And then of an evening, because it was the same DJ, I was sort of young, and you follow all these people that you liked. You then listen to their next show that was late at night and things. And one of them was, really just strange sounds on an ambient type level, being like early electronic music. This would have been late 80s, I suppose. So yeah, there was an interest there. I think it went through stages. There was definitely a long period when it was only dance music. It was only techno. It was only hard techno for like a period of about 5 or 6 years. It was like I lived in a bubble and nothing else existed outside of it.
Which is easy
then
to
obviously,
do.
Yes, yeah. And then I sort of came down from that again, and got back into doing the ambient, more obscure stuff.
Now, you gave me a thread. I'm going to pull it. You said when you put together that song, you're in a really dark place. How dark a place do you have to be to create that song? How low?
Right. I'm a workaholic.
Right.
And by my own fault, I've never been forced to do this and things. But I've had a career change about 4 or 5 years prior to that, where prior to that, I've been working on a building site on the tools, and I went to work for structural engineers. At the same time, I went back to university to start education again at the age of 40. And I always took the bait. When they said we needed to get something done, I always got it done. And then there was always, Dave will manage to get it done, so we'll just give it to Dave. And it just went on like that. So my average day, I was leaving my house at 5 in the morning, getting in the office for about 7:15, leave the office at about 8 o'clock at night, get home about 10:30, do college work until like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then get back up and repeat that all again, keep doing that. Well, it turned out that's not actually particularly good for you.
No.
And I had some health issues. On the third time of being in the stroke unit, I decided I probably got to do some changes and actually listen to what the doctors are telling me and don't carry on doing that. So that was about that sort of time. It felt like my world was falling apart because I couldn't do my job anymore and I'd failed and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that's where I was when I wrote that track. Yeah, probably was dark, quite dark. Well, it wasn't because I was really lucky. I lived very few tales from like having the medical issues. Life could be a lot worse. Could be a hell of a lot worse. But that's not how I was looking at it at the time. It was like, what am I going to do? I can't do anything and all this sort of stuff. I tried doing a couple of local jobs. So I went from having a good job where I was working all the time to we can give you 3 hours a week stacking shelves in the supermarket and you've got to sign an exclusive contract for that. And I was just like, no, this ain't for me. But yeah, so that's where I was when I was writing that sort of stuff.
Wow. Was there something around that time that helped pull, like, there's normally like what's the word? An epiphany or something like that you have that helps you get out of that rut, to claw out of that hole. Do you remember anything like that helped you get out of there?
There's a lot. I ended up seeing a therapist.
Right.
Because obviously I do have issues. I can't let go. It was no company was forcing me to work like that, but I would always been willing to take it on and make sure everything got done and all that sort of stuff. Because I just could, and it turns out I'm what's called a perfectionist. I don't think so in the slightest, not in the slightest. But I took it to be a different meaning. But really, it sort of means if you're asked to do something, you have to do it to the best it can possibly be done. And you can't not do that. And that's sort of the way I was doing it. And one line I was told was, you cannot worry about things you cannot change. If you start worrying about something, write it down on a bit of paper, look at it again in 12 hours time, and then decide whether it still needs worrying about. Most things no longer need worrying about whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like when you write a shitty email to somebody, save it in your drafts folder and go read it the next day. And you'll find, fuck, I'm glad I didn't send that fucking email. That would have ruined a whole lot of shit and caused a whole lot of troubles for the next few months. It's funny, you know, as a musician, we're pretty sensitive creatures, aren't we?
Can be upset. Yeah, I've certainly lost my temper. Better at it now, but yeah, I could lose tempers years ago over little things.
Music for me always, for a long time, was something that would help me diffuse my anger. Because I used to be a very, very angry person, fly off the handle at nothing, psycho. And music for the longest time helped, but it got to a point where it no longer helped and the anger was far stronger than the music. And that's when I had to speak to someone. But there's enough of that. Let's talk about, so you're making music, you're in this scene, you're doing this stuff with the Squiffers, you're getting together and doing all this kind of stuff. At what point did you start to think, hey, I want to start developing software, and how did you start doing that? What was your introduction into that?
I was writing little bits and pieces for myself at home. I'd always been into programming as a kid, even though I was never doing it professionally. And then when I joined the Squiffers, like that synth group, I was making little things. So, like an old ice cream container with some knobs on the top of it and a bit of electronics in there, just making some weird sounds. You've probably guessed I make lots of weird sounds with my stuff. Then I sort of moved on and was using Arduinos and trying to make them like a synthesizer. I mean, really, I failed, but you got noises and sounds out of it, and I played it and all sorts of stuff. And then I came across this open source software called LMMS, which is like a free version of Fruity Loops. Originally based for Linux, it was called the Linux Music Making System, but they tried moving away from that name when it went cross-platform. Yeah, this is the software there. So I started contributing to them, because that's quite a large open source project. There's probably about a dozen really regular contributors. Then there's lots of individuals that might just do one little bug fix, or they come along with their feature. They come along, they integrate for a while, and then they move on again. But I worked on that probably about a year or so. I was on that a lot, and I really learned a lot on that. Prior to that, I'd never worked with other people, so my coding was all just like hack coding, and didn't really understand you had to do things in a certain way so other people can understand it. And there's all sort of best guidelines and standards and things, and communicating with people. And so, yeah, that was a really big turning point for me. I learned so much on that project. It's still actually going, although they haven't had a release in about 5 years. But there's still development going on. I'm still subscribed to all their notes boards.
So you're self-taught in this field as well, is that right?
Yes. I do love reading a book and things, as you can probably see over my shoulder. I've got shelves full of books and stuff. Read all the scientific papers. I like going to, virtually going to all the different developer conferences. There used to be like the Linux Audio Developer Conference, which would have been the total opposite of Apple's. It's students and professors that have been in education for years, all in a lecture theatre, all talking about their thing, all very passionate, but no fashionable clothes or boat shoes or anything like that. No, it was literally the opposite people.
Yeah.
Really intelligent people, both sets really intelligent, but I'm not even sure if the two have ever met up. So I enjoyed all that. I learned lots by doing that. There was actually a presentation at one of these Linux audio conferences about this way of doing it, and someone wrote a paper. And my first synth that I released on the Android called Involve was based on this talk that I watched at the Linux Audio Conference.
Right.
This was with the author's permission. He sort of wasn't involved with it, but we was chatting a bit on the chat room type things at the time. He was quite happy for me to do it. So yeah, it's all been self-taught over the years. Been a lot of effort and work, but I've always enjoyed every bit. It's the understanding how things work. It's a bit that gets me going.
So is this, now you released this synth on Android, yeah?
Yes.
Is it still available?
I'm afraid to look. It was a long time ago. It may be,
Right.
but no. I thought about it the other day and thought, no, I'm not going to look for links to send out. I found an old video that I've got that's still private and decided no. But again, it's all just learning. It was one of these things. It was free. I didn't charge anyone for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've looked back and it's had some amazing comments that have really sort of plucked. It's like, yeah, I should have carried on with that. I shouldn't have just wrote it, released it, and then gave up and didn't do anything else with it. Which is sort of what's leading me to my attitude with my current projects, which is like, no, you've got to stick with these things, and they do build, and that's the way it goes. You can't just build and dump it and then move on to the next thing. Yeah, but that would have been my first solo release. Would have been that Android app. Yeah.
I'm curious what goes into the beginning of an app idea. Like, obviously, like making music, right? You're making music for yourself at the same time, but you want other people to listen to it. So do you go into like developing an app with other people in mind, or are you fully focused firstly on, would I use this thing? Are you making it for yourself?
For myself is very important. It's got to be playable. It's got to be playable with the Squiffers. They've all got to be able to just put their hands on it, turn knobs, and make sounds, and be the sounds they want to hear that fit in with their group. So that's vital with me. But I also, I am learning to more spend time listening to what other people want, how it works with other people. So yes, there is a lot of me in there, definitely a lot of me in there. Now I'm trying to pay more attention to what's good for other users and listening to all their feedback.
I expect it's really hard too. Doing this show, you hear so many people's ideas of what they want from this app. Like an app comes out and people are like, yeah, it's amazing, but I really want a back button and I want these little things. How do you go dealing with people's requests for things that, and do you get a lot of requests for, say with MooMu, people are like, hey, can you add this? And you're like, it's already on my list. Do you have a list of things that you already want to do before you push the thing out? And do you get double ups of people requesting these features, or do you get a lot of things that people are like, you never thought of that they ask for?
Sort of a mixture of both. Yes, I've got a to-do list. It's ever growing. I think I'm actually going to be working on the project for years, which is a good thing. That's actually what I want to do. I'm always going to keep this project going. Some things are excellent ideas. Some things I've never thought of before. Other things I've thought of and thought they wasn't a high priority, but now I have people mentioning them. They've suddenly come to the top of the priority list. Some things are like, I really can't see how I'm going to get that to work without breaking everything else. And that's the hardest ones, because everyone is well-meaning. Everyone's idea is a good idea. It's just somehow you have to figure out how to say that really doesn't fit in with what I'm doing, but try and offer ways of doing it in another way somehow.
That would be the hardest thing, wouldn't it? So you get a suggestion, or even you get an idea. It's all about implementing it. Hey, I can go in and implement that, but it's that butterfly effect, isn't it? What else is going to get broken by me going back in time and changing the future and Marty McFly's parents don't get together kind of thing? That's the problem. It's the butterfly effect and going back and fixing everything.
It is sort of, and there's also other things that just don't work with the theme of how everything else works. I mean, in MooMu, horizontal movement is always probability.
Yep.
And then I've got someone saying, but I want to turn that into velocity just in this one instance. So you need to change your... It's like, no, that doesn't work because the way the whole app works, if it's a horizontal movement, it's probability. Velocity is a vertical movement. So then it's like, but yeah, it was so much better if we done it just in this one case. And I'm like, no, I'm really not going to do that, unfortunately, because it breaks the way the rest of the Apple works.
That's where I'm going to head here with Apple. Let's play another track, and then we'll come back and talk about Apple, because, it's not all smooth sailing all the time for all of us with Apple. It's a love-hate. I love it. I love Apple. Anyway, we'll get into it. Let's play this track. This is called Succubus Patrol.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Listen to you. Ah, yes. Hang on, I need an effect for that.
Ah, yes. I remember this.
All right. Let's do it. We're hoping SoundCloud's going to work today. So we'll bounce over here. Let's play this. This is Succubus Patrol by our friend Dave French. Let's Oja.
flames. Who set the house of beauty burning? Skyway beetles in the ringing cold, trestle arcing the steel river, warehouses, truck lots, and Indian groceries. A new plume of smoke joining the others. Billow of dark thought rising from the broken forehead of the House of Beauty.
Yeah! Very disturbing.
Yeah, a lot of my music is, I think.
I love it. I like dark stuff. What's the influence behind this?
I just started getting production lessons. I started well, not really music education. There was a producer in the scene that I sort of met through some forums and bits and pieces, and they was quite successful. And I started doing lessons with him. I going around his place like once a week for 2 hours a week or something like that it was. And he was teaching me loads about production. His day job, well, he just finished, was recording local bands and things, like the local recording studios. So he was like a mix engineer, knew all sorts of stuff on that, but he was really into his really dark, deep techno. So that's one of the pieces that I produced when I was doing some stuff with him.
Awesome. So I'm just going to bring up your SoundCloud page. So this is where we're getting everything from. The link is in the description, folks. So if you haven't already, if that's what you use. Oh, God, I haven't even followed. Look at that. I have a SoundCloud account. I never use it. It's because of the ads and stuff and all that jazz. And also, Thomas is continuously putting up here. We want everybody to go over and help get our friend, our guest today, over 100 subs. If you can do it, it'd be fucking awesome. So,
thanks for the plug.
So here we are, 2025, and you start. Well, I don't know when you this project that you have now, the MooMu. We'll talk about MooMu, but how's it been becoming an Apple developer and the steps to go through as a developer and set up a developer's account and to go through the process of creating? Is everything as magical as Apple like us to believe?
Some bits are, and some bits seem to take for absolute ever. And honestly, no, there's only really one sort of hiccup I've had along the way. Touch wood here. But basically, I started my developer account as what's known as a personal account. So it's in my name legally. But I opened up a company so I could actually do my sales and have like limited company protection and just in case I got sued for something, etc. Now, it's a straightforward change to do with Apple. It's all documented on the internet. You have to do it through an email, and there's obviously suggested template emails of what you write and what documents you've got to attach, because you have to send off passports and copies of your company certificates and things like this. So my product was near enough finished and ready to go, and I had all the legal companies set up. I had the bank account set up. My product was ready to go, and I'd sent this email to Apple, and I'd attached all this documentation to it. And then nothing. And nothing.
Oh.
And still nothing. And then 3 weeks later, I get an email saying they're looking at my application. And then nothing. And then a couple of weeks later, they then asked me for one of the bits of documentation that I'd already attached to the original email. So I upload that. And anyway, this took 3.5 months.
Wow.
And all they ever asked for was the information that I'd attached to the original email. But that is my only real negative thing I've had with Apple. All my apps have gone through the app review first time. I've not had any problems with anything like that at all.
Is this going to be the first year that you're going to have MooMu out with an iOS update?
It was February the 2nd that it was released this year.
This year. So this is going to be your first. Here comes.
This is my first year.
iOS 26, where everything's going to be broken, and
I went through it while developing. I went through it, and it's like, oh dear, yeah. So I've got that to come on a live product. Yeah.
Have you downloaded the beta, the 26? Oh,
no. Although I've got a few devices, I've deliberately got devices like the top end of what my products will run on, the bottom end of what my products will run on, and I need them.
How hard is that? How hard is that to do? Because I see it all the time. Like, this is the thing. Apple release all these devices, and they all have different amounts of power. Each new one's got more power than the last one, but you're expected to release an app that's got to work on older devices. How far can you go back before it breaks?
Well, officially now, you have to upload for iOS 17.
Right.
However, once you've uploaded it, you can then take it back to lower versions.
Right.
I've possibly made a mistake for myself here.
Okay.
Because when I first released it, I obviously went around all the forums and plugged it and things. And a lot of people were moaning about, why doesn't this do iOS 13? My device is iOS 13 and all this sorts of stuff. And I have taken it down to iOS 13.
Fuck.
Yes, it does run on. To be fair, no, it does run on there, but you just can't play some of the bigger patches because obviously the machines have changed drastically. I mean, the iPad I'm on now is actually more powerful than my desktop Mac Mini that I've got.
Yeah. Same here.
So there is a huge change in what the devices can do and how much they can do. It's not really been a massive problem until now, but no, I am expecting some things happening around iOS 26. Obviously, we had the things with Logic recently. Logic's not doing side chaining, multiple layouts. I mean, I'm very lucky, but I put like a month's worth of work into doing the multiple layouts, doing all the videos for it, bits and pieces, and now it doesn't work anymore. And there's developers in far worse situations than me because my app doesn't rely on it. It was like a nice feature, good to have. If it's in there, I'd use it. But it doesn't stop the app being used. Whereas there are developers that are relying on side chaining, and their app is now sort of nowhere near what it was a couple of weeks ago.
It's fascinating with the people who are on, like as you said, still on iOS 13. Now, there's a reason they're still on it, and that is because there's probably 1 or 2 apps that no longer work past iOS 13. So they're not updating because they want this one app that's on there. And it's interesting that people want you to come to their party because they're not willing to let go of one app and update to the latest firmware. It's a very fragmented, broken system. I mean, it reminds me of when jailbreaking was a thing. I mean, I was a big jailbreaker back in the day because there was no Files app. We had to jailbreak to get into the files, into the system, to be able to rip a song out of GarageBand onto my computer to mess with it. And Apple constantly were trying to stop us from doing jailbreaking. And it was like, just give us a Files app, for fuck's sake. And it took years for them to do it. But the more that these newer devices come out with much more power, holding on, it just seems like a really hard thing for you to have to do, and for free.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for free. You're still selling apps, although it's not exactly. I've only got one app, so it's not really lucrative. I've got to branch out if I want to make this lucrative. But it can be expensive when you suddenly get a bug report and it doesn't have that bug on your hardware.
Yep.
Or we mentioned this when we was chatting before. Say I get a bug that only happens when it's attached to a Magic Keyboard.
Yeah.
Now, me with my personality, I'm going to rush out and buy a Magic Keyboard to fix this. From a business decision, that's probably very stupid because I've probably only got 30 quid's worth of sales in total to people that own Magic Keyboards.
Yeah.
And Magic Keyboards were a lot more than £30.
Sure. Absolutely.
So that can get hard for a developer, and you got to sort of work out where in the market you're going to go based on how much you're prepared to spend. I mean, I've thought of, am I prepared to put this on an iPhone? Now, I've got one of the big Pro Maxes, and I think it's a bit small on that screen. It would take a lot of work to get a release. But if I was to actually put it on an iPhone, I've got to go back and buy the various different generations of phone and decides how old does it really work on, what's the last device, does it work on all the different models, the different size screens. You get an emulator, but not all things that happen on the emulator are exactly the same as the phone. Some things work fine on the emulator and don't work on a device, or vice versa. So at the minute, I've decided not to go down the phone route because it's going to be a lot of work and probably very expensive, and not a nice experience at the end of it. The phone is too small for my app.
Yeah, and an emulator, I mean, if you've ever used video game emulators, they're not perfect, and they don't emulate a real world situation because, hey, you here's the other thing too. You don't know what people have on their iPads, or and sometimes people are going to have an app that they downloaded for free and they've never used it, but it's sitting on their iPad, and there's something in that app that is fucking causing bullshit on their iPad. And they're none the wiser because they've just downloaded this thing and yeah, that's all cool. But it's doing something in the background. With an emulator, you can't play into that, can you? You can't see what else everybody's got on their iPad. You can't see that iPad that somebody's got who's only got 3 gigabyte space left, and they're constantly juggling shits, and they open an app and then everything's fucked, and then they contact you and go, the app's fucked. It's like, dude, you've got 3 gig left on your iPad.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things. You don't know what internet connection is going to be like. I've just put like iCloud integration into my app. And that works absolutely brilliantly when you sat next door to my Wi-Fi router. I've actually got to go out and check my app works if I go on like the underground train, if I go out in the middle of the fields by the sea, if I go all these other places. Because you just don't know where people are using them. They're not always going to use them in the same conditions where you're developing at home in an ideal sort of condition.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Other developers have had on here as well. So you're kind of at the mercy of Apple. Like WWDC comes around, you're like all of us. We're sitting here watching it going, I wonder what the fuck's going to happen. Like, you know, and the whole thing about WWDC always makes me scratch my head. Like, this is Worldwide Developers Conference. This is about you guys. This isn't about us. This isn't about sitting here in iOS, because it's not going to matter to us until we get the finished product. But to you guys, you need to know what's happening. And it seems like you're finding out at the same time as us, as the plebes. The plebes.
Yeah, I mean, Apple do provide a reasonable amount of documentation. They do provide all them videos. I don't actually develop natively on Apple devices. I use a framework called the Juice framework. You may well have heard of this. Apple Developers. So that's cross-platform. So sort of insulates me from things that happen at Apple and also puts you in a vulnerable position. Because if Apple make changes and that Juice framework doesn't keep up, I'm reliant on the Juice framework making them changes before I can adopt this sort of stuff. So yeah, but it does mean a lot of what's at Apple going on, I'm not actually directly using or involved. So I've been watching like the first 5 minutes of all the videos this week and sort of get an idea of what's in there, but I'm not using it now. So there's no point in me watching all 40 minutes of this video because I'm going to forget it all.
Yeah, I've been watching them this year as well too. And as soon as they start talking AI, I zone out.
Most of the day then.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Like, for something that they've dropped the ball on so hard, they're really still talking about it. It's like, you know, let's shut up. Can we not talk about it? It's not working. It sucks. Whatever.
But it's all just ChatGPT now.
I don't know why they just don't integrate it. Just do it. Just forget their own AI and just integrate into it. Fine, why not? Like, pay the license, just do it. It works. Look, that's the thing. I want to talk about prices because it's a big thing in the iOS world. Prices for apps. It's a head scratcher because here we are in the position where when iOS first came out, the famous term is the race to the bottom, where everybody just tried to release free apps or cheap as fuck. And that set a precedent for the future where now, for the longest time, people have complained and gone, but we want desktop apps on the iPad. And now we are in the place where we're getting desktop apps on the iPad and they're cheaper than the desktop versions and they're exactly the same, but it still seems to be a problem. How do you go about defining your worth as in an app? Like, do you struggle with it?
Definitely. I had a price in my head of £20 or $19.99 when I first was coming in to release this, and I'm like, yeah, it is probably expensive, but you are getting a whole product, although it's in a niche market and things. And within a couple of weeks, I had that down to $13.99 or $12.99. You get a lot for your money on iOS, I think, for these apps. In the PC world, you're going to pay a lot more than that. And also, how much do I value my time? And I'm not going to tell you what I've earned per hour while working on this project.
Of course.
But it's not nowhere near a wage. It's pence per hour at best. But yeah, I don't really know where to price it. I don't know whether I'm overly priced. But then I put a sale on, and obviously you get a boost of sales in the first couple of days when you go into the sale, and then they flatten off the same rate as they was before, even though they're at the lower price. So I'm not convinced that dropping the app all the time to a lower price is the correct thing to do. But I really think all prices for apps are really cheap, which has got to make them disposable. How many things can you buy for a tenner in the real world that are going to last years and you expect to stay around?
Nothing.
You can spend that on a breakfast in a cafe.
Oh, not even more than that, man. Like when Brad was here, he went for a walk and he goes, "Oh, I found this place to have breakfast. It cost him $35." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you look at most of the apps that have been on the show this week,
Yep.
or for a long time, they're all like $15 is an expensive app, $20 is a really expensive app. What do you really expect in this world for $15 and $20? Now I know I'm new to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I've only got one app. I did pick a niche market, etc. But I've regularly been in, well, not regularly, but I have been in the top 30 on the app store, and I'm like, well, I haven't really earned anything today.
Wow.
And I'm earning more than all the. And I look down through the list. I mean, I know it changes daily, but it's like today I've earned more than a lot of apps that I know all the names of, and it's like today must have earned less than me today. So I can't figure out if it's really viable as to go on long term. Is it viable to have raced to the bottoms? I think we've reached the bottom. I mean, your app yesterday was $3.99.
Yeah, I can see prices going. I've been saying this for ages. They are going up. Look at this app I'm going to cover tomorrow. Fugue Machine Rubato. That has caused all this. It's caused heaps of uproar. Everyone's like, here in Australia, I think it's $100. So I see everybody complaining, "Oh, it's $59." I'm like, yeah, come to Australia, it's $100 because our dollar's just shit. But $100, that's created some controversy and people are all upset about it. And it's like, you know what? Do you need it? Is it worth getting upset about? I don't know. Is it the fear of missing out? Is it FOMO? Is it just people they're pissed off at the price? Yeah. I've spent so long trying to put my finger on this because I can't talk either because I get apps, codes to do demos, so I'm not paying for them. So I don't know that feeling anymore.
I mean, it's good for users at that, Jade, because you can get a new toy every week.
Yeah.
I really think that's good. And as much as you say new doesn't always bring new stuff, it does bring enthusiasm. It does bring inspiration. There's many of things. It's like, yeah, I've had fun this evening playing that. I've actually created something I've been inspired by. I've been made happy. It's excellent. But I'm not sure how sustainable it is for an industry. Would there be more of the stuff that's available on desktop available for iOS if it was sellable? I was reading about Serum. Obviously, the big synth has come back out again. Version 2 has been released recently.
Yeah.
I believe it's best part of about $200 US. And I've seen people saying, why isn't this available for iOS? It's like, no one's going to pay $200 for a synth on iOS. No,
that's it.
But maybe if more companies started putting them for sale, people might start buying them. But it's all a big gamble. So it's a lot of work for a company like X for Records that makes Serum to put out an iOS version if it's not going to make money. But I don't know there's a solution. The race to the bottom's already happened.
Can I ask, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to put up here, of course. So this is Dave's app. It is MooMu. I've covered it on the show. It is a modular synth. And for most people who see this, they'll be like, what is that? What is going on here? As we discussed in the beginning, modular synth is so niche, an app. So you're already kind of putting yourself in a situation of being niche. But from my, and I don't know anything about modular. Clearly, when I did the demo, I don't know anything about it. But the thing is, I can see absolutely for whoever's into modular, this thing has just got everything you need. I mean, there's so much in it. It's ridiculous. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to head into ethics because Apple like to talk about their ethics and they have their style guide. I'm sure you've seen this. They have a style guide for like music, and they have a style guide for a whole bunch of things for if you're releasing music on Apple Music. How intense is the style guide and the ethics that they have behind releasing an app? Are there some things in there that you find that are unrealistic, or because I know in the music style guide there's a lot of wank in there?
Not particularly. I've never had any problems. All my apps have gone through their review without any, or all my updates have gone through review without any comments. Although I have heard recently they've been knocking back some apps that are free. Because I think they want them to actually go out as being charged.
Yeah, Audio Kit Pro.
You may have heard this.
Yes.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Audio Kit Pro have a free app about to drop called J6. It's been in beta for like 2 months. It's awesome. It's amazing. And it's going to be absolutely fucking free. And Apple have rejected it 3 times because they're saying it needs an in-app purchase. And it's like, but Matthew's saying, but it's free. And they're like, yeah, but we need an in-app purchase. And I think the only way he's going to be able to get around it is to put a link in the app to offer him a donation. It's so weird.
Yeah, I don't understand why they... Because free stuff is promotion.
Yeah.
Which is why free stuff is put out there. You get people that won't buy money on your app, try the free one, decide they like your products, and then they trust you some more. So it does drive sales.
Yes.
That's why the developers are doing it. So I don't really know that. But me personally, no, I've not had any issues at all. I'm sure I probably have broken some of their rules in places, not willingly, but just out of inexperience. But nothing's been picked up. So my experience has been all good on that front. But I do know other people that have had very different experiences.
All right, so here is MooMu, and I'm going to, I've got this little preview here. I'm just going to play this because I won't play one of your videos. Can I do it? Let me see if I can actually do this. Does it let me do full screen? It does. Oh, look, this is cool. Hang on.
Effortlessly with the MooMu app. Designed for touch, MooMu lets you play melodies, shape sounds, and tweak effects in real time with fluid gestures. The app has over 60 CV controllable modules, providing endless ways to create and refine your own signature sound. Use MooMu Modular as a standalone app or AU3 plugin and integrate it into your production setup. Start creating with the MooMu app today.
That's a really fucking good ad that is on the App Store. I haven't seen one like that. That's normally it'll just be like a little demonstration of it playing, but that's like a full-on ad you've got in there. That's pretty nice.
I got a $5. Cost me $50. I'd made a video that I was really not happy with at all. Sent them the footage, and that's what I got back.
It's good. I like it. So we talked about Fiverr before the started. What is it about modular synth that gets your juices flowing, Dave?
It's more about the journey than the end result. I don't save anything. I don't save most of what I do. I don't record most of what I do. It's just the journey of when you're doing it. It's the tinkering. It's the systems. It's what happens if I do that. The experimentation. There's a lot more knob turning than there is keyboard playing. But yeah, it's all about the experimentation and seeing what sounds you get, and you never got them before, or learning new techniques and things. There's a bit of software called VCV Rack, which is like the precursor to my Rack.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on their forums for a long time. I did develop modules for them and for that package as well. But what I was trying, the people that come into the forums, obviously, like all forums, there's an introduction and things. The people that come there are software developers, math tutors, statisticians, computer programmers, professors at universities, engineers. It's all that type of crowd. Some have a musical interest, some don't. but it then tends to be the more technical end of people that comes to the modular synth world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know what scares me about it the most? It's the cables.
It's off-putting.
I see a basket full of cables and close the lid and run into the next room. That's just a container of cables. I see them all plugged in and I just go, ah!
Yeah, I mean, I did build a physical modular synth here, DIY style. There's lots of circuits on the internet that you can get, and then I've done some of my own designs that I put on the internet. But I had this box. It was I think it was 1800 wide by a meter high. Great big thing on my wall, all flashing green LEDs and stuff, and cables absolutely everywhere. But it's huge. It's in the way. It takes over the whole space. And I was decorating that a couple of years back now, and I just looked at it and like, it's got to go. And it was also a giant money pit as well.
I can imagine.
Yes, even building it all myself, it was like, it would have been cheaper to have a crack habit, to be fair, than it would have done to keep that going.
We talked about this at the beginning of the show. The thing is about modular too. Like, I don't know what. You know, we all have these weird fears of things, but essentially a modular synth like these days, we're so lucky these days because you get an app comes out, it has all the things that are in a modular synth. It has oscillators, it has filters, it has all this kind of stuff. It's just you've got to connect the cables to it. That's the only difference. But for some reason in my brain goes, run! What are you doing? We are very lucky these days to have synths that just have it all in a very pleasing aesthetic to just hundreds of presets, off you go.
Yeah, we've come a long way. There is some amazing stuff out there, some amazing technologies, some amazing sounds, and you can fit it all on your phone or on your desktop computer. For even on the PC world, a decent synth's $200.
Yeah.
What would you have paid for a decent synth in the 80s?
Thousands.
Yeah. And you've got inflation to go with it.
Yeah.
And that's like the top end synths are $200 these days. You can get lots of synths, $50, as we know on Mac iOS. We look at Rob's work from yesterday. Under a $5 you can buy lovely sounding synthesizers.
Yeah.
I'm really in awe of the design from yesterday. It's like we get a handful of controls and some gorgeous sounds coming out of it.
It's I'm finding Rob's apps very confronting at the moment because I can see people in forums going, "Oh, it's ugly," and it's like, yeah, but like music isn't a visual thing. And I get it. Like I get the argument. You know, people want pretty, they want things to look nice. But man, if it don't sound good and it looks pretty, then you're fucked. It's all about that sound. It just is. Like you've got to hear it and it makes you go, oh, listen to that. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like in the end.
I actually think they're a genius design.
Yeah.
Their sliders, because the design's so clear and simple and there's not animated graphics and like an oscilloscope somewhere or some frequency analyzer that's not really required. There's now space to put sliders on there, and sliders are so much better than knobs, especially on a touchscreen environment where you can see where you are so much clearer. I'll be honest, the first time I saw one of Rob's apps, I was like, oh, he hasn't done the UI at all. Now I'm like, they're absolute genius.
Yeah.
They're some of my favourite apps to use. They're just so easy to touch the UI. You just move your fingers, you can see clearly what's going on in front of you, and they sound lovely.
It seems like he's tapped into something. He's been sitting there because, I mean, he was developing apps when I first started this show, and then he kind of disappeared and moved over to PC for a bit. And then he's come back and just watched everything and gone, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to do this and just cop the flack. But it is about the sound. So what is your plan? Because we're at the end of the show. And what's your plan for MooMu for the coming year? And is there anything else that you're cooking up in your brain that you can give us a hint without giving too much away?
Right, at the minute, the next release that's coming out, which is in the next few weeks, is actually is, well, the main things is iCloud integrations. You can share across devices and runs on the Mac, as in the design for iPad variant of running on the Mac.
Right.
So there's a few modules and there's a few little bits and pieces in there as well. Few UI updates or quality of life updates. That's something I've been learning lots since I've released it off a lot of people, that maybe it wasn't the best when it was first released in many areas like that. Sorry, Leela.
We love you, Leela. She did a good job.
Yeah.
She did a good
Done
job.
an amazing job.
Man, I was watching her going, fuck, that is, because Leela's very brave. She'll take on things that are outside of her comfort zone. And, you know, taking on MooMu is a big thing, and she did really well.
Yeah. So I'm carrying on working MooMu. I think that's going to be going for years, to be honest. I'm also looking into, I haven't actually committed to what I'm going to do, but I've got a few ideas at the minute. I'm looking for the total opposite, far less controls, far more easy to use, just music orientated, open it up, press a couple of buttons, turn a couple of knobs, and that's it.
Nice.
I want to get more for the performance. Well, I've had the Quad-X wire pads and things, moving stuff about. I've been experimenting with accelerometers. So you tilt your tone, it changes all the parameters. So yeah, I'm looking at doing a few smaller apps over the next couple of years that are far more simpler, that are just easier and fun to use. MooMu is very good. I love it, but it's got a very niche market.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen it, go and watch my demo and check it out. And if you're into the modular synth, go and support Dave. He, you know, as you can tell, is very invested in what he's doing, creates high quality stuff, is a musician like the rest of us. And, you know, we don't have many developers on here because, well, musicians don't tend to come and watch the developer shows because they have no interest in developing. But I find it super interesting having developers on here because, I mean, you are the lifeblood of what we use to make fucking music. So it's super important to hear your experiences and what goes into this stuff. So thank you for coming on here today and sharing a bit of your story with us.
Thanks for having us, Jade. It's been lovely.
And, you know, it's been so nice having you in this community, and I'm so glad you've planted roots and hanging out with us every day. So there's that as well. But I'm going to hit you with the last question. We hit every MFer who comes on the show. If someone is if someone is considering becoming creative, when would be the best time for them to start?
When they're going to consider become creative now.
Now.
There is no better time. If you want to be creative, pick up a pen, a pencil, draw something, bash some spoons together, make some rhythms. You don't need anything expensive to be creative. A pencil or some crayons is all you need.
Fuck yeah. MooMu is available on the App Store right now, so go and grab it if that is your thing. Thank you, Dave, for coming on the show. We're going to go out with a piece of ambient music from his collection. It's another one that goes, I think this one goes for an hour, but we're only playing a little bit. Make sure I've got the right one. Yeah, we've already played that one. So we're going to go out and play a few minutes of this, and then we'll ditch. So I just want to let you know things that are coming up. Tomorrow, normally Walk With Me would be a thing, but we're taking a hiatus from Walk With Me for a few weeks. There will be a special Walk With Me happen either this week or next week. It isn't really a Walk With Me. It's a behind the scenes of Walk With Me, how Walk With Me is put together. So if you're interested in that, that is happening. Instead of Walk With Me tomorrow, finally, I'm putting my head on the chopping block and going to try and do my best to do a demo for, and I can't even find the thumbnail because it's so far behind. Where is it for? That's not it. It is, it's for this one. There we go. For Fugue Machine Rubato. So we're doing a full tutorial of this tomorrow. It's complicated, but it's really good. It's just really complicated. And of course, this weekend we have the Creative Hour where I'm going to take a blowtorch and make some music in an hour. So if you want to come do that. Plus, the last thing I want to let you know, next week there is no interview here on the channel because finally it is happening here. Music for Life launch party is happening. Over 60 artists have contributed their songs as we raise money for kids with cancer in Canada, teenage cancer in Canada. All the money will go to that. 60 artists have come together to submit their songs. So this will be night 1 this time next week. And then the following night on the Friday, US UK time, will be night 2 of playing all the songs from these killer albums. So hopefully you guys can come and join us for that. It's going to be a big week of your music. All right, let's play this track. Let's get out of here. Please stay on the line so I can say goodbye to you once the show's done. This is, we'll just call it, this is Ambient October 2022. Let's play it. Do the things that make you happy, my friends. Mistakes make you better. Stay awake. Let's age. Boom.